Oahu is known as the gathering place. Honolulu, where most of Hawaii's population resides, is the 10th largest municipality in the U.S. The primary urban center will need to accommodate over 66,000 more people to reach the general plan target of 46% of island residents by 2025. In 1976, the state legislature created the Hawaii Community Development Authority, or HCDA, to plan for and revitalize underutilized urban areas in the state. 600 acres of land located between downtown and Waikiki, Kaka'ako is considered a prime location for redevelopment. The HCDA plan for Kaka'ako fits within a broader urban strategy that includes major infrastructure investments and plans for Oahu's economic development through tourism, science, and high-tech industries. To maintain open space and protect agricultural land on Oahu, we need to plan for sustainable urban density in places like Kaka'ako. Graduate students in urban planning at the University of Hawaii at Manoa investigated the history and cultural identity of Kaka'ako, its role in the growth strategy for Oahu, and how different stakeholders viewed the challenges and opportunities presented by redevelopment.
In the old days, this used to be all housing, and there was two-story buildings, wood frame, with stores underneath, living on the top. And over the sidewalk would be a corrugated iron roof. And most nights, people would be sitting upstairs on their balconies, drinking beer, playing Hawaiian music, and just being neighborly with one another. This was Kaka'ako in the old days. I don't think we'll be able to reproduce that anymore, but I'm pretty sure that human relationships, if allowed to nourish, can recreate the feeling of brotherhood and love among each other.
Point Panic was one of my clubhouses. We started body surfing there when I was in high school, when no one else was, because there was a perception that there was a lot of sharks there. And at that point, the cannery was still open in Kewalo Basin, and you'd be out there and you'd get this heavy fish smell, according to the winds.
Kaka'ako at one point was, the rubbish dump. There was an old incinerator there, and I like to think that the transformation of that site into quite a beautiful waterfront park is really indicative of what can happen in the district as a whole.
During the 40 years I've been surfing here, I've seen many changes. I've seen changes, some good and some bad. The parks is good because it benefits the people and it preserves the access to the shoreline, so we can surf, fish, people come and run. But on the bad side, I saw in the last 10 years a proliferation of high-rises coming up. And it forever ruined the landscape of Honolulu, in my eyes.
Up to the late 70s, Queen Street in front of our company used to be dead-end street. There was no Office Depot, there was no Kamake Vista, there was no Ward Entertainment Center. It was just strictly a small business community with residents scattered, in the same community. And now you see the bigger development, things are changing, and depending on the economy, there's more to come.
When we started Hokua, people thought we were crazy. Back then when we were marketing the project, we did not say the project was in Kaka'ako. Because back then when you said Kaka'ako, it conjured up visions of auto repair shops, Quonset hut warehouses, and streets that would flood in any decent rain. Now, people are proud to say, I live in one of the condos in Kaka'ako.
In the last year, we've seen, I would say, a 180-degree transformation of energy, of buzz that's being generated, and starting to be coined as the next, the budding city. It's the cool place where everything's happening.
You see business people to families and little kids, people walking their dog. You see the joggers, the bicycle riders. But it's pretty epic to see the vibrancy come back into Kaka'ako, which was once in the old school days a very thriving neighborhood.
The fact that artists are there and cultural people are starting to come in, workshop spaces, that's because of the nature of the place and its history.
As the Greenhouse Innovation Hub, we are really putting a lot of effort into becoming a destination and creating a better ecosystem for startups and for businesses and entrepreneurs to do really creative things. We think there's lots of opportunity for business owners to grow their businesses here, and we want to keep the talent here. By creating a platform for people to come to and to learn and grow, we feel that we have a much better chance of doing that through something like the Greenhouse Innovation Hub or other co-working spaces like the Box Jelly or R&D.
We've definitely seen a few great businesses launched out of R&D already, even though we've only been open about 4 or 5 months. There's the Whole Ox. They did all their fundraising, a lot of their menu development, and their business planning at R&D. They often tell us that they couldn't have done it without R&D being there, just not having a great space to meet, not being able to afford their own office space, or a space where they can tap into some other people's creative energy.
March 28th we opened, so this is our 8th day, and we have not been bored one single second. We get our meat from ranchers in the state only. Andrade Ranch in Kauai. We get Kulana beef. I know everybody here now, and that's what I like, is it's a neighborhood.
There's a lot of collaborative energy in places that are marginalized where people can't see it. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about places like Kaka'ako. They're kind of open-ended. So the people who can come in and make a statement about how they want to be in community, they can articulate it. You can see it faster.
You really need to focus on these guys and support these up-and-coming industries and small businesses and the arts. Powwow is a not-for-profit event. These are amazing street artists from around the world.
My name is Cody Kia, student of Kamehameha School. It's our mural that we're working on for Powwow 2012. White artists come down and put up nice murals in the community, and it's a way of giving back.
We are so excited about our relationships with R&D, with Powwow, with Eat the Street, and others. These people are the innovators of the future. They're the co-authors of this community. One of the roles that KS can play in these relationships
is really to provide the spaces and the places for their creativity to nourish. And we're doing that through co-locations, and we're seeing powerful transformations coming from that.
At the HCDA, the time is also now. We have entered into exclusive negotiations with ArtSpace and Pagi to develop an affordable, mixed-use, artist live-work space on a 30,000 square foot lot on Waimanu and Kauai.
It's an artist housing, not for just Native Hawaiians. Hawaiians don't just want to be with Hawaiians. We want to learn and live and work and play with everybody in our community.
The Kamehameha School's vision is to create a progressive, 21st century community that will act as a catalyst for innovation and nurture the evolution of a vibrant urban island culture within a beautiful, healthy, sustainable neighborhood. We're creating community connecting places that are outdoor, and we're providing for a broad range of housing. The early investments, we're doing a 54-unit, for-rent, workforce housing, loft apartment.
After a run as the CompUSA store, that site is poised to follow in the footsteps of its sister development, Waihonua.
We're the development managers for the Cancer Research Center of Hawaii. And you'll be glad to know the project's ahead of schedule and under budget to the taxpayers.
I've just been commissioned the sculpture for the new Cancer Research Center down in Kaka'ako. Hawaii is situated so that we have waves coming from the entire Pacific. And so it's sort of a metaphor for where all this information, where all this study is going to be coming from.
Governor talked about third city and density. I think he's exactly right, because the way to keep the country is to have density in the city.
We want to increase urban density at its height in order to decrease density at street level, to maximize the sense of community that's going to be there. A 690 Po'okina, for example, will be a signature symbol of urban Honolulu in the 21st century. I would like to see that this be an architectural marvel, that it be something that people look to from the world over. We need to be able to change the perception of what life is, that it's not the single-family dwelling and the white picket fence, that it might be in an urban condominium where you choose to give up that car and add $10,000 to your annual income, where you choose, again, to bike share or car share or walk. So I think that rail is, whether you're for it or against it, it is a transit mode. Should it come in, that transit mode will be incorporated into our rules such that they can benefit. If it doesn't come in, that doesn't stop us from having to do the hard things now to change the way we live such that we're much more sustainable or effective in this economy.
The vision is solid, places where we can live, work, play, where community comes up, but that doesn't look like you getting into your car out of your gated, condo and driving away.
Camouflage, pink and chocolate.
I've had a shop here in Kaka'ako for 20 years, working, living down here. It's changed drastically since I was a child. Right across the street used to be Po'okina School. They've turned it into a parking lot that's going to be a big development starting soon. Why does it have to be a big fancy building?
What happened to all these 3-4-story walk-ups that were actually affordable?
We are a family company that's been in Kaka'ako since the early 50s. We are, a food wholesaling business. There's so much uncertainty in this area. I mean, it's so hard to plan ahead. PV panels, if a tall building goes up in the wrong place, our investment in the PV panels will have gone to waste. The Kaka'ako area brings in a lot for the economy. We provide a lot of jobs. You look at the developments now, mixed use. What is it? Stores in the bottom. But if you look at a lot of the condos, there's nothing there. By dropping housing there, housing here, so eventually you have all these residents complaining about the businesses there, and eventually we'd be squeezed out.
It's always interesting when you start rooting out the things that are growing really strong. You might not like them, but there may be a way to incorporate them if everybody views them as a resource. There's a big wave rushing across that area. Which way do you turn if you're paddling into that wave? Do you try to go over it, or do you turn around and surf it in?
Outside investment can bring positive change to our communities, but great places are built from the ground up. We can learn from other cities that have revitalized neighborhoods based on a sense of place and community. Our class came up with several recommendations for development in Kaka'ako. Adopt an incremental and adaptable approach with a mix of big and small projects. Offer niche market housing and separate amenities to give buyers more choices. Improve accessibility by rerouting bus lines to provide mesh access rather than linear. Create complete streets and demand-based parking. Promote green infrastructure through urban agriculture, permeable concrete surfaces, and neighborhood-level green benchmarks. Retain surf and recreational uses in the Makai area and aspects of industrial culture through mixed use in the Mauka area. Promote culture-based anchor tenants that have a connection to the past yet support a modern, dynamic city. Create a fiscal entity to support innovative businesses and projects consistent with the vision for different neighborhoods within Kaka'ako. Coordinate branding and outreach efforts to leverage the value of neighborhood identities for sustainable economic and community development. Crowdsourced planning through social media and public events invites people to contribute to incremental change.
There's an emerging trend going on throughout the United States. It's called tactical urbanism. Communities develop in many respects from the ground up, and many municipalities actually are beginning to recognize this and begin to develop programs that actually support these green shoots and business startups and entrepreneurs that develop at the community level.
Collaboration between entrepreneurs, government agencies, and landowners has already created exciting new uses of space in Kaka'ako. How would people's perceptions of the area change if there were pop-up cafes, open streets, and community gardens? By creating temporary changes in streetscapes, the National Build a Better Block project acts as a tool to engage communities in the redevelopment process. Pop-up hoods act as a small business incubator, revitalizing neighborhoods block by block with pop-up retail and art. Finding common ground in a sea of different visions for the future requires a lot of hard work. Community protests over land use in Kaka'ako Makai demonstrated the level of citizen commitment to preserving access to the ocean.
In 2005, the state wanted to sell public land in Kaka'ako Makai to build residential luxury high-rise towers. And we rallied, and with the help of the legislature, they passed a law. And the law prohibits now any type of residential in Kaka'ako.
OHA, as most of you know, receives 20% of the revenue generated from the CD Land Trust. And there's a back grant that's been due covering the years 1978 to 2012. And the agreed upon amount between Governor's Office, AG, and our office came out to about $200 million. We are going out of our way to be really respectful of the planning that's gone into place and the tremendous amount of mana'o that's been come forth through the community over a period of years try to make sure that what we create in Kaka'ako is a gathering place that we can all be proud of. And we are committed to the guiding principles that are already in place.
By them saying that they're going to respect that, it's like saying they're respecting the people for all the hard work they did to make the plan.
Development in Kaka'ako Makai remains open-ended, but continued community protests highlight the need for an inclusive planning process as projects move forward. Along with recreation, the waterfront hosts educational spaces like the John Burns School of Medicine and the Children's Discovery Center, and nonprofits like Reuse Hawaii that are leading the way toward a more sustainable future.
Reuse Hawaii melds with the Kaka'ako Makai master plan. The idea is that the area should have a community element, and so Reuse Hawaii is serving so much of the community and also the environment. One thing people don't sometimes realize is that 1/3 of Hawaii's waste comes from construction and demolition. Instead of demolishing buildings, we disassemble them basically in the opposite order that they're built, and in the process we can recover on average around 80% of the building for reuse or recycling. Then we make it available for reuse to the community.
The main point is that with development now, you got to plan for the backside too. You can't just plan for the beautiful condos, the streetscape. Without business like us, that part can't be built, can't sustain the operations. Where would they get the food from?
I see Kaka'ako as a hub for retail, a hub for creativity, a hub for food. Just a really great experience, a place where it becomes a destination for technology and innovation, creativity, fashion, art, culture.
Many people walking the neighborhood. That's what I hope to see.
We say we want this, well then let's make sure we get this. Complex as it should be, and then yet at its core, it also is relatively simple because it has to serve the needs of the people and the place first.
There's something about coming to the ocean to get away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. That's why I wanted to protect this place.
As we look to the future, we are guided by lessons from the past. The stories of Kaka'ako and the people who use it are important assets.
Kawaii